Co-main event, brother. We got some heavyweights. Look at that headshot of Jake Collier, brother. Them shoulders looking thick, looking wide. This is a former middleweight who is a heavyweight, man. His nickname is the prototype for a reason. It's because even though he looks like that, he has the Parker Porter effect where don't sleep on this man because he's fast as hell, man. His hand speed is ridiculous. His combos are ridiculous. His movement is ridiculous. His cardio is kind of ridiculous for a heavyweight. But like I said, this is a middleweight who moved up to heavyweight. So you have that muscle memory. You have the myelin sheath, right? You got the nerve fibers all firing still like you're a middleweight, even though you up a big boy 265. However, he's fighting a Muay Thai specialist in Chase Sherman. And listen, man, Chase Sherman hasn't had the best run as of late, man. He had some stuff when he got right back into the UFC. You know, he had a freak injury like 10 minutes before walking out against Andrei Arlovsky. You know, all of this weirdness going into it. But this is a new slate. Both of these fighters are coming off of a loss. So this is time to 0-0. Let's get a win on the board, right? Number 66 is Jake Collier in the heavyweight division. Number 46 is Chase Sherman. Minus 125 is Collier, though, with the plus 105 comeback for Sherman. AJ, I need to ask you this. After watching Chase Sherman's last fight against Parker Porter, who is pretty similar to a Jake Collier, if we're talking about literally frame, hand speed, all of those intangibles, do you think that this is any different of a matchup, really? Like, Chase Sherman seemed to struggle a bit against the output, the volume, and the speed of Porter. Do you think that's basically going to be rinse, wash, repeat in this matchup?
I mean, as much as I don't want to say it's going to be rinse, wash, repeat because it's a different guy and we're going to see a different sort of fight, I think it's leading a little bit more towards that way, man. Chase Sherman is almost being given like a redo, like a redo. Like, hey, man, I know things were a little hard last time in, the Parker Porter fight. We're going to give you another somewhat kind of the same guy because Jake Collier and Parker Porter, they're both big men that move very, very fast. When I was watching the Jake Collier's last fight against Carlos Felipe, they were talking about how he used to be a middleweight and, he can still make that. He just chooses to not do that to his body. It's the same thing for Parker Porter. It's the same thing. He just cuts down that little bit of weight. He can be fighting, at 205, 185, these weight classes, and having that speed and having that kind of, like you're saying, muscle neurons firing, it's a whole different level. And Chase Sherman, credit to this dude, because he's one of the only that came out of bare knuckle fighting. So he's not only having to deal with these dudes that are throwing 8 different limbs at you, getting crazy with stuff that you've never seen before, trips, ground game. He has a very, very high learning curve that he has to tackle. And I think the UFC is not necessarily doing him a favor here, but I do think they are providing him another litmus test to be like, all right, bro, we showed you what you got to beat last time. Can you beat it this time so we can give you something a little bit better on the next one? Who knows if that's actually the case that's going on, but it definitely feels like that. Is that what you're getting to, Derek?
Yeah, brother. I think that Chase Sherman is not one to be discounted, not one to be underrated, not one to be in any of those situations because even though he hasn't had the best UFC run, he's 3-7 in his UFC career, it's kind of crazy because it's like normally people get cut and he did. He left the promotion and had to come back and whatnot. So in his new run, he is 1-2, 2 losses to Parker Porter, Andrei Arlovsky. He knocked out Ike Villanueva, that's a pretty big deal. Ike Villanueva is a very good fighter. So with that being said, man, I just think that he needs to put it together mentally. I don't think it's a physicality thing. I think it's a mental thing, right? He said he just didn't show up in the Parker Porter fight. So if he comes with a renewed focus, I think this could be a closer matchup because when it comes down to it, Chase Sherman has great Muay Thai. Jake Collier is more of a work with the hands, get the combos, move fast, head in and out, mixes up the leg kicks and the punch as well. Jab, left hook is such a dangerous combo for Jake Collier, but for Chase Sherman, man, he does a lot of good counter striking off of his back foot. So he could fight going forward, going backwards. It doesn't really matter. And like I said, man, using that Muay Thai should make it interesting. However, he does struggle a bit against the speedy guys, the fast guys, the dudes who are able to just volume him up, lots of movement. So I just hope that we see a renewed focus from Chase Sherman, the Vanilla Gorilla, but his best shot of winning is probably knocking Jake Collier out, which is a possibility. Jake Collier has been knocked out 3 times in his career, you know what I mean? But I don't know, man. I don't want to make any definitive this is just the same fight all over again, but I do think that Jake Collier is a dangerous opponent that doesn't get the respect that he deserves. Even though Chase Sherman shouldn't be discounted, I think Jake Collier is a favorite for a reason. Now, minus 125, do you think that's fair odds with the plus 105 comeback for Sherman? Because that's kind of slight favorite, slight underdog. Both of these dudes have an opportunity to win. And if you look at Jake Collier, the people he's lost to is Carlos Felipe, right? Tom Aspinall, where he got knocked out by Tom Aspinall. But I mean, come on, that's like I said, this dude's gonna be fighting for a title in the near future. He loses to Devin Clark. He's lost against legit dudes. but so has Chase Sherman. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a fair line. I mean, that 125 to 105 pro is definitely it's a little bit closer. And I think it's weighed that way because of the Parker Porter fight and how
Yeah,
similar Collier and Porter are.
yeah.
I mean, the one I like Chase Sherman as a fighter. I agree with you. Does not need to be discounted at all. This dude's an absolute savage, grown exponentially in his UFC career. The problem is when his hand starts flying and the combos last, those 5, 6, 7, 8 punch combos. That's when he starts to kind of drift that head right back. Literally, each punch he throws, he starts low, and the head starts kind of coming up, and he gets back to that, just swinging and banging kind of style. And when you have a dude that has fast hands, you can get caught in the chin real quick that way.
Do you envision this going? I mean, I don't want to. I guess we'll talk about over and under then. Do you see this going the distance, or do you see someone finishing somebody here? Just because Sherman is more of the finisher than Jake Collier is, but at the end of the day, man, if you're a big boy, all it takes is one. In this division, all it takes is one, and both of these dudes are there to get hit. Not the greatest defense by either fighter. So what do you think?
Yeah, not the greatest defense. And when you have, Ham Hawks just swinging in the phone booth, man, it's hard not to get caught. So do I see this one going to decision? Yes. I that's what I think it's going to be. I'm going with the over. I think this one's definitely going to be a longer bit of a fight because both these dudes are very experienced and going to be pushing that pace to not get knocked out. Out, excuse me. But I mean, these dudes got mallets for hands, bro. So you get caught once, and these big boys put you right to bed.
Yeah, man, it's tough, and I'm going to go the over too, just because if you look at the last 5 for Collier, he has not won a single fight via knockout. It's all been decision wins. If you look at Chase Sherman, he has 3 knockout wins actually in his last 5, but 2 of them came in the square ring promotion, so not in the UFC, and then 1 came against Ike Villanueva, who is no longer with the promotion anymore. So I think to be safe, going over 2.5 rounds should be a fair bet on this one. But I'm siding with Jake Collier on this one, man. Even though I got so much love for the Vanilla Gorilla Chase Sherman, man, I really do think that this should be a bounce back fight for him. He does get that redo. I just think the hand speed of Collier, man, when I watch him, it pops off the page. I'm like, you're too big to move that fast, dog. You know what I'm saying? But the power is the question. So I don't know who has the power edge in this one. It's probably going to be Sherman, to be honest with you, man. But either way, both of them are big boys. So I'm going Collier. Who are you going with on this one?
Yeah, I think Sherman might have the power advantage, but Collier is also a big dude, man. He just started off smaller. He was just a little bit more, dietitian ready.
Yeah.
But me, man, I'm rocking with Collier on this one as well. I'm going Collier by decision. I think this one's going to be a good fight for him. Honestly, this was a very hard one for me to pick because I do see the opportunity for Chase Sherman to be there. Yeah. It's just I think Collier is a little bit more well-rounded, and he really needs this fight a little. Well, they both need this fight for sure, but I think Collier is a little bit more in line to get this one.
It is interesting just because this is a co-main event and both of these fighters are under 500 in the UFC. So you would have to think that the loser of this fight probably gets the boot, unfortunately. So there's a lot on the line here. So we should see a very valiant effort by both fighters.